The ritual most observed by American Jews, according to surveys, is not a lighting of the most celebrated holiday by Jews is not the lighting of the candles at Hanukkah or the fasting at Yom Kippur, but celebrating the Seder. This is what the Jews are saying that it pictures. The shank bone symbolizes the strong hand and outstretched arm with which God redeemed the Israelites from bondage. The roasted egg symbolizes fertility and continuality. The bitter herb, or horseradish, symbolizes the bitterness of slavery. The parsley is a symbol of spring and rebirth. The haroset, the apples and nuts and wine, symbolizes the mortar which our ancestors in Egypt laid the bricks for Pharaoh. The 4 cups, the 4 drinks of juice of the course of Seder. There's different understandings, they say. One common interpretation of the 4 cups is that it's used by God in promising to free us from bondage, saying, I will bring you out. I will rescue you. I will redeem you. I will take you to be my people. Exodus 6, verses 6 through 7. By the way, the 3rd cup, the one they refer to, I will redeem you, is actually called the cup of redemption. That is the communion cup that you and I celebrate when we celebrate communion. How do we picture this? Do you know, one of the rites, because they use the unleavened bread, the matzah. And by the way, how do we know that matzah is matzah? For 10,000 years, that recipe has been guarded. People have actually in history had to die to preserve it. So we know that matzah is pretty close to what we read about matzah being. But you know that one of the rituals that came out of Passover is spring cleaning. Do you know that the reason why spring cleaning came about was you had to sweep out of all your kitchen anything with yeast. You had to make sure there was no yeast in the house. So it came this ritual thing for hundreds of years where in Jewish homes they did this super heavy-duty cleaning to make sure that it was out. Well, it transferred into our Judeo-Christian society, and now spring cleaning has a different meaning, but that's where we got the roots from it. There's a picture there about spring cleaning because, to me, nothing's more confining than cleaning. Talk to my girls. I have one smiling and one giving me the death stare. To hear mom cry out, clean your room, you hear the moans. You hear the grumbles. Yeah, exactly.
Mom!
To some, by the way, your mom's sitting right behind you.
I'm aware of it.
Okay, just thought I'd point that out. To me, it's a drudgery. And yet the freedom one experiences is refreshing when you get done. Freedom is in the details of the drudgery. Ask anybody who's incarcerated. The opportunity to choose what you want to eat and when you wake up, when you lie down to sleep, what you want to wear, when you want to walk, where you want to walk. All those little details of life indicate that one's free. When the Israelites left Egypt, they did not have these freedoms. As they wandered, they ate manna. They had a specific time during the day when to gather it, how long they were able to keep it, when they were supposed to arise, how much to gather. The pillar of fire, the pillar of smoke led the way as to where they were to walk and where they were to camp. They had this cloud of glory that was shining about them, yes, but God kept their clothes and shoes from wearing out. They weren't able to be stylish. They were still protected. They were still protected from all the little details of drudgery when they emerged from Egypt so that they could release their spirits into these first. The thing that you have to see is your freedom, your physical freedom, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about today, because next Sunday I'm going to talk about the spiritual rebirth and the spiritual freedom. But I want you to see a picture of Jesus did two things for us. Yes, he died for the sins of the world. Yes, he set us free spiritually and all that. Over here on the other side, He also freed us physically. And that's what we're going to focus on here. And this physical thing begins with our identity. How you see yourself. Imagine this. Freedom begins when you believe what you can believe and what you can be. You're free to believe. We awake one day and we say to ourselves, I think I'm going to be an artist. Therefore, I'm going to become an artist, or an electrician, or a physician, or a writer, or anything else. We have to see ourselves as free indeed, because that's how Jesus phrased it. And here's the picture, and I touched on it a week or so ago. The Holy of Holies with the veil. When they went in to the Holy of Holies to pour out the blood onto the lid of the box, there was this awe. There was this. They were so frightened of the fact, is God going to accept the sacrifice, that they wrapped this large rope around the priest's leg, so that if God would not accept the sacrifice and strike him dead, they could pull him out. There was a fear. There was a reverential awe. There was this, we're giving unto God our sacrifice. Is he going to accept it? And the high priest would pour that blood out on the lid of the Ark of the Covenant. And inside the Ark of the Covenant was the manna and Aaron's rod and the Ten Commandments, picturing the law of God, picturing God's justice, picturing what God, the standard of what God was holding us up to. The blood was the picture of Christ to come, the Messiah who was going to deliver us. But here's the thing, you've got to see this. This is so incredibly important that if there's nothing else you get out of this today, you've got to see this. There's the two gold-covered angels that were staring down at the lid. It pictures God looking at the law, what God was expecting for the justification of our sin, for the sacrifice of our sin. God looking through the blood of the law, seeing it fulfilled. Because the blood ultimately shed by Christ gave us that freedom. To this day, whenever God looks at you as a believer in Christ, he looks for the blood. To this day, when God looks at you, he sees you as if you have never sinned. God looks at you as if you never failed. God looks at you as if you were made completely whole. By the way, when Jesus healed in the Old Testament and in the Gospels, he just didn't, okay, now the guy can walk. No. He was as if he was never broken. It was wholeness. God didn't just heal the blunt. I mean, this dude was perfect. I don't mean he was an Adonis. I mean he was completely restored.
That little ache he used to have in his knee from sitting on the mat was gone.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. He not only could see, but all the consequences of the sin, the consequences of the disease, it was gone. You have to start seeing the fact that when you come to Christ, when you accept the blood of the Lamb, when you say, God, I am bending my knee to you, I'm giving my heart and life to you, God is in turn looking at you saying, I see you as if you were never broken. Amen. There's a freedom in the physicality there that you have to see. You have to see the fact that whatever issue that you had in your life, whether it be emotional, spiritual, physical, an addiction, whatever it is, God says, I want to transform that area of your life and completely set you free. You've got to see the hope. You have to see the hope that we have physically. Some of us are not doing so well physically. We have the hope for complete restoration on the other side. You know, some of us have gone through some really hard times, and we can't forgive ourselves. Do you know God says that I will wipe away your tears when you get to the other side? There's a freedom physically that we have to see. There's a hope that he desires to use us now. You've been set free. You've been given freedom. You've been given freedom. Paul says, now what are you going to do with it? Now that you have been, what are you going to do? How I love what Chuck Colson says, how then should we live? If God has so set us free, if God has physically removed the bondage, Paul says, well, we're going to put ourselves back under. You know?